Welcome back. Sedatives are being used as chemical straitjackets on elderly patients in the capital's care homes. The shocking claim was made today by the Liberal Democrats, who are demanding that prescription guidelines are tightened. Their concerns have already received support from Age Concern and the Alzheimer's Society.
I think the misuse of these drugs in care homes is a form of abuse. It's an inappropriate form of care. It reduces people's quality of life. It may hasten death. And it's done primarily for the benefit of the people who run the care homes rather than for the benefit of the patients.
Well, Paul Burstow is the Liberal Democrat Shadow Minister for Older People, and he joins me now. Paul, this is something you've obviously been campaigning for a long time about. We've heard some pretty strong views there from the Alzheimer's Society. Is that what you're concerned about?
The Alzheimer's Society is absolutely right. These drugs are not being used really for the benefit of the individual concerned, which is what they should be for. They're really being used as a way of conveniently quietening someone down and managing them. And new figures which I've released today show that there's been a 70% increase in the level of prescribing of these drugs in just 1 year alone, which is an alarming figure. It should be ringing alarm bells in the Department of Health. They need to get a grip of this situation.
So what other way could they sedate people without using these drugs?
Well, there are alternatives that don't actually require the use of drugs at all. Better trained staff that are able to communicate with people, more sensitive personal care, and a proper programme of activities and recreation for these people, so they don't become as awkward and difficult to manage, and as a result need the drugs to enable the care homes to cope.
So you've described these drugs as being like chemical straitjackets. What effect do they have then?
Well, they're meant to deal with people with delusional states, hallucination, but they actually induce drowsiness, sudden shaking movements, and ultimately they can actually lead to an acceleration of the dementia that a person has, and even premature death.
And is this something that your constituents, that people have been writing to you about? Is this something that people are taking quite seriously?
They are, and this in fact starts from a report that was produced by the Royal College of Physicians 4 years ago. This is not new in that sense. The government should be aware of this. They should have been taking action during the last 4 years. We're still waiting for the government to come out with tighter guidelines to deal with prescribing.
Are doctors being irresponsible then?
Well, I think what's happening is that we have pressure from care home owners. They have difficult people in their care homes. We may even have people at home who are presenting with these difficult problems. So there's pressure on the GP to do something. And what they do is they get out their prescription book and they write a prescription.
Do you think new guidelines are going to come into place? Are you going to be able to put pressure on people?
Well, we are putting pressure on. I think the Department of Health have actually been rather surprised by the figures that my parliamentary question got out of them.
70% increase
It just
is
really
phenomenal.
begs belief that the department didn't know that they had this scale of problem growing up. There aren't enough staff to deal with this properly. We need extra trained staff to make the care homes work properly.
Paul Burstow, thank you very much indeed for coming in.
Thank you.
Expectant mothers and women with young children are being offered the chance to get away from it all and take their little charges with them. Liz Wickham has been looking at a new service aiming to pamper hard-pressed mums.
It's almost unbelievable. Peace reigns. A dozen babies and toddlers and barely a squeak of discontent. It's the same with the mothers, off in different parts of this glorious Sussex hotel, being pampered into submission. They call it maternal bliss, a tailor-made break for mothers who don't want to leave the little ones behind, but do want complete relief from responsibility and chores for a couple of days. Maternal Bliss organise mini breaks like this all over the country.
I think it's the whole experience. There's a real tranquil feel about it. Everybody here is in the same boat as you, so you're not worried about your child misbehaving and disturbing other adults. And so many things are laid on for you, like food, which is can be such a bind when you're at home.
All the nannies at Maternal Bliss are Norland trained, and they supply everything for yours and baby's stay.
They even provide the buggy, so you don't have to drag a buggy with you. They've got nappies, they've got wipes, they've changing mats, potties, virtually every little bit of detail they've paid attention to, and it's just made life so much easier and so much less stressful.
The standard of rooms is luxurious, but at £330 a night it should be. Perhaps the time to ask your partner for a holiday like this is during labour, when he can hardly refuse. Dinner in the evening is for adults only, but mums mostly like to lunch with the babies. Even then, every peculiarity of the child's taste is taken into account.
Been for a swim this morning, which was lovely, and we both had massages, and we had a great supper last night, so very, very relaxing.
You have them when you want them, but you can give them away when you don't feel like looking after them, which is great.
You know, it's so beautiful here, and the mothers and babies seem so tranquil inside. It almost makes you think it would be worth having another one. No, it wouldn't. I must be mad.
At Newark Park in Sussex, this is Liz Wickham for London Today.
What's more, no men. Time now to take a look at what's coming up on London Tonight this evening. Police gear up for a second night of demonstrations as G8 protests take to London streets. We're live from the Italian embassy. Plus, Backley stuns the palace and the world with an epic throw at the death. And we'll be revealing the winner of our Sting competition and giving you the chance to see the fairest lady of them all, Martine McCutcheon, in the West End. So join Alistair and me for London Tonight at 6 o'clock. Finally, though, a village in Surrey is playing host to a group of highly unusual summer visitors. Hundreds of rare parakeets have made their home in a garden in East Molesey. The thing is, no one's quite sure why the birds have flocked there. Matt Gardner's been to investigate.
If you want to see exotic wildlife and the holiday in the Amazon jungle isn't an option, then just head down the river to deepest, darkest Surrey. A large parakeet population has made their home on these shores, but why?
There had been a ban on importing parrots in the UK that was in place from the 40s until the mid-60s. And from the late 60s on, that ban had been lifted, and so people imported thousands and thousands of parakeets. Some of these birds escaped. I've heard a lot of stories as to how some people say that a barge tipped over on the Thames, some people say that a crate broke open at Heathrow, other people say there were free-flying aviaries that just wandered around and got lost and never came back.
Last year, over 3,000 ring-necked parakeets were recorded living in the grounds of Esher Rugby Club. When not at Esher, they can be found at the more exotic locations of Lewisham Crematorium, Ramsgate or David Griffin's garden.
Every day I have at least 10 or 12 birds on the nuts, early in the morning and late in the evening. And they glide down low and then come up to the feeders. It's beautiful to watch.
There is a problem with this local invasion, though. The parakeets are posing a threat to native wildlife.
They move along the waterways, they form a small flock, and then they essentially stop for a bit until the flock gets large, and then they spread on some more.
The parakeets are here to stay. The population has quadrupled over the last 5 years. This is Matt Gardner for London Today.
And that's all we have time for today. Coming up next, the latest from Crossroads. But for now, from all of us here, goodbye and have a great afternoon.
Carlton Weather, sponsored by amarada.co.uk, suppliers of gas and electricity.
Good afternoon, lovely day across London today, and with a little luck, fingers crossed, the weather in the southeast should stay quite settled for the rest of this week. I say we need a little luck because the weather patterns are really quite unsettled. There's a satellite picture for this morning. You can see there are weather fronts approaching northwestern parts of Britain, showery outbreaks just across the channel from us too. Get a little closer in. You can see, of course, the clouds have been well broken in our part of the world, at least so far today. Some clear spells for most of us, but these weather fronts out to the northwest are getting a little closer, so fingers crossed by the time they get close to us, they'll be very weak. The rest of this afternoon is certainly going to stay fine and dry. There are clouds around, but plenty of sunny spells in between them, and it's pleasantly warm. Light winds, so 23 or 24 is going to feel quite warm. 24 is 75 Fahrenheit. And then tonight it's going to stay dry, but misty in one or two places maybe. Temperatures down to around 10 or 12 at lows. The best of the clear spells probably down in the south and east. And then tomorrow should be very much like today, so there will be some cloud, but plenty of sunny spells as well, light winds and reasonably warm, maybe just a bit more cloud coming into the far northwest of the region later in the day. And the outlook for the next 2 or 3 days is more of the same as long as you stay here in the southeast. Other parts of Britain rather more unsettled, but the southeast looks set fair.
Carlton Weather, sponsored by amarada.co.uk.